What's up, guys? It's Clouded Truth, bringing you all some more Battlefield 3, and today I've got two games for you all. Both of these games are on Strike at Karkand Conquest Assault Small. The first game I'm playing as the attackers team, and the second game I'll be playing on the defender side. In both of these games, I'm running as a support class, and using the QBB-95 as my main weapon. On this gun I have the Cobra red dot sight, the foregrip, and the suppressor. Haven't picked up the QBB for quite a while, so I gave this gun another shot, and actually it turned out pretty well, so I hope you all enjoy the gameplay. What I want to talk about today, though, kind of has to revolve around the QBB and Strike at Karkand. Not those two items specifically, but the category they fall under, and that would be the Back to Karkand DLC. Back to Karkand DLC came out, what, about a month or so? About a month and a half after the original game of Battlefield released. So it gave it a little bit of time before adding new content, and now we've had almost, actually what, a little over 2 months to play this new DLC and figure out kind of where the flank routes are, where the action happens, the strategies, etc. So now, after experiencing Back to Karkand for over 2 months, and also having month and a half to play the original maps before having the option to play these new maps, did Back to Karkand really help Battlefield? Did it bring things to the table that make this game more fun? Or did it kind of just add a new spice to it for a second, or not really a second, but a little bit longer than that, just a short time, and then now it's kind of fading away and we're looking at DICE for something else? So Back to Karkand brought 4 new maps: Strike at Karkand, Sharkey Peninsula, Gulf of Oman, and Wake Island. It also brought another game mode, Conquest Assault, which some people find really fun, and some people absolutely hate. Me personally, I don't really care. Generally, the game I'm in, we have flag capped as a defenders team, so I generally don't have to worry about not being able to spawn. But overall, I still think the game mode is kind of fun, but I can understand why people get frustrated with this type of game mode. As far as these new maps go, in every single one of these maps, there are vehicles, and on 2 maps specifically, there are a lot of air vehicles. On Wake Island and Gulf of Oman, there is a ton of air vehicles, which is what I think DICE was intending for on these 2 maps. And if you are someone like myself who is not very skilled at air vehicles, it makes these maps a bit more frustrating to play, because oftentimes I find myself on the ground trying to cap flags and arm MCOMs when I'm being shot at from the air, and it's hard to use the correct setup to take down air and land vehicles, because on both Gulf of Oman and Wake Island, there are helicopters, there are jets, but there's also tanks. So it's hard, let's say if you're playing as an engineer, to either run your regular small or RPG, or have something like the Stinger or Igla. It makes it a bit more difficult to figure out which one, figure out a bit more difficult which one to equip, and also to figure out if you need to run kind of a really strategic game with a bunch of like friends in a squad, or if you're trying to just kind of go have some fun in one of these matches, because you can get a bit frustrating when you're trying to take down air vehicles, but then something on the ground like a tank comes and kills you, because then you switch back to your regular RPG if you are using a Stinger before, and then now the helicopter comes and kills you rather than the tank, and it just kind of goes back and forth. So I can understand why people get frustrated. Me, myself, I honestly don't really enjoy the more open maps with a lot of air vehicles. Wake Island is the main one that I have a little bit more frustration with. Gulf of Oman, generally I have a pretty fun time on that map, but sometimes it can get really frustrating with all the air vehicles. Sharkey Peninsula is a mixture, has a attack helicopter on either side as well as tanks, so the air vehicles are not nearly as abundant, but the attack chopper is much more difficult to take out, because there are a lot of buildings around Sharkey Peninsula, and it is very difficult to get a lock on an attack helicopter. With even a Stinger, or even sometimes a SOFLAM or CITV, because the helicopter can either fly straight up in the air or around a building and the lock gets broken. That, I think, is one of the aspects that makes Sharkey Peninsula sometimes a very frustrating map, but overall, I think it is more of an infantry-based map with the close quartersness of the fighting and the flag locations. Strike at Karkand is probably my favorite map from this DLC. A very infantry-based map. It's got an LAV-25 and an M1 Abrams if you are on the attackers team, and it's got a T-90 if you are on the defenders team. So only 3 vehicles, only land vehicles, making this more of an infantry-based map, and the land vehicles can be taken out fairly easily with a lot of explosives. So overall, I think that DICE was going for kind of a mixture in their maps as far as what they wanted to bring to the table with the number of vehicles, appealing to a lot more people, which I can understand that, but for those that don't really enjoy air vehicles like myself, it makes some of these maps a bit more difficult, because one of the main reasons is with this destruction brought from the Back to Karkand DLC, buildings now get blown up more, can completely collapse, and so it makes it more difficult to cap flags, because an enemy attack chopper can basically just fly over the flag and its gunner can just spray down everywhere, just blow up all the buildings, and basically eventually just getting lucky and killing you when really they have no idea where you're at. I didn't really have that problem too much on the original maps such as Karg Island, even Caspian Border, so I find that sometimes this can be a bit of a nuisance and makes the maps, the new Karkand maps, not as much fun to play. Now let's talk a little bit about the weapons. The weapons that Back to Karkand brought were 10 new ones, 2 of them for each class, 1 personal defense weapon, as well as 1 shotgun. Overall, I think that a lot of these guns really weren't that great. I have about, for me personally, I have really 2, maybe 3 that I use a lot. The MK3A1 fully automatic shotgun is one I'm trying to keep my hands off of, just because it is a automatic shotgun that can fire very fast and is extremely extremely deadly in close quarters. The PP-19 personal defense weapon, I do not enjoy that gun at all. I much prefer something like the MP7 or the P90 that still has a very high rate of fire with a higher damage, higher max damage that is, than the PP-19. The 2 guns that I enjoy the most have to be the L85A2 assault rifle and the MG36 light machine gun. Me personally, I think that both of those guns were probably the 2 best weapons that Back to Karkand brought. The FAMAS is a gun that many consider to be overpowered, some consider to be not overpowered. It is kind of a mixture gun that can be difficult to counter, but also can be very hard to use because of its extreme high rate of fire. You can run out of bullets very easily, and its slow reload time. So overall, I don't think that's a great gun that Back to Karkand brought. I much prefer something like the L85A2. The 2 engineer guns, the HK53 or G53 if you're playing on PC, and the QBZ-95B were kind of mediocre guns. A lot of guys enjoy the HK53. I'm kind of, it's not that great for me, but a lot of players find that it works well for them. The QBZ-95B, I hardly see anyone ever running that gun. It just doesn't perform very well and is basically lacking in almost every single category in which engineer guns need to excel at. The L96 bolt-action sniper rifle and the QBU-88 semi-auto snipers were the 2 sniper rifles that Back to Karkand brought. The QBU, pretty similar to the SVD and the MK11 mod, as well as the M39, so it's not really a gun that is that great. You can basically still have the same results if you use like the Mark 11 or the SVD, as opposed to using the QBU-88. The L96 bolt-action sniper rifle, though, has the least bullet drop among all bolt-action snipers in Battlefield 3, so if you're going for very, very long-range fights, the L96 is definitely a great option. Overall, I think that both the maps and the weapons were good for Battlefield, but honestly, I don't think that Back to Karkand brought enough to kind of keep the new spice, the new flavor there, to keep people really interested in the game. I still find myself going back to the old maps and the old weapons for more fun, because I don't think that Back to Karkand really brings that. I'd rather go play old maps than the new Back to Karkand maps, but that's just me personally. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as well as the gameplay. Please let me know down below what you guys think of the Back to Karkand maps, the weapons. Were they good for Battlefield? I think they kind of were good, but I don't think it really brought enough to keep people very interested, unless you are a vehicle, more specifically an air vehicle type of player. I don't think it really helped if you are more of an infantry-based fighter. It seems that the old maps from the original release are a much better option to play. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed this footage, and other than that, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.